Okay, our topic is, should celebrities have privacy? I am arguing that they should have privacy. Dr. Christophe is arguing that they have no right to privacy. Okay? So, we're going to start with opening speeches. Publishing information, true or not, has been around for centuries. Before the printing press existed, people would gossip about others and of importance in the community through party chatter and handwritten letters to friends. The invention of the printing press made it easier to record information of interest to the public. Early newspapers and leaflets published in the American colonies provided people with a record of the doings of the community and gave people a way to voice their opinions. As early as 1733, a printer named John Peter Zenger was brought to trial for publishing information about the colonial governor. The information accused the governor of many untoward actions. The governor's lawyer argued that the information Zenger printed made the governor look like an idiot, which he resented. Andrew Hamilton, Zenger's lawyer, argued that since what was published was true and accurate, it was not libelous. The jury agreed and Zenger was acquitted. Thus, the battle between the press's right to publish and the public figure's right not to look like a fool had begun. Let us jump forward to the 20th century, where the rise of the film industry made celebrities out of actors and actresses. There were movie-tone newsreels which highlighted national news, but also celebrities going to perhaps an Oscar party or a movie premiere. This was and is acceptable news coverage. Celebrities do these kinds of public appearances all the time. It is expected as part of their jobs. However, public figures, like celebrities, do not have to give complete access to their lives to the press, especially to the paparazzi, photographers and writers who try to find out and publish details of the lives of celebrities. This, of course, they do for money. This is not fair. Celebrities have the right to a private life, to control when and where their image is used and what is said about them. Celebrities are human beings who have a right to live their lives in peace when they are not doing their jobs, acting or otherwise entertaining us. To deny celebrities the right to control their own information is a serious violation of their privacy and can take a toll on their physical and mental health, and it should not be allowed.
Do celebrities have a right to privacy? My answer is no. Let me explain why. I don't care what newspapers say about me as long as they spell my name right. Any publicity is good publicity. Both of these statements have been around so long that the origin of them is obscure. Some cite Mae West or Oscar Wilde or Mark Twain. Some cite P.T. Barnum, the king of publicity. Certainly to Barnum, in the mid-19th century, there was no such thing as bad publicity. Barnum and his freaks lived their life very deliberately in the public eye. Whether it was a traveling circus or a museum, Barnum knew how to draw crowds for his shows, get people curious and excited about what they were going to see. For that, he needed publicity, and he was very good at creating stunts that would get into the papers. From arranging for the 25-inch tall General Tom Thumb to meet Queen Victoria of England, to touring with the stuffed remains of Jumbo the elephant. In fact, it can be argued that Tom Thumb was the first celebrity in our modern meaning of the term. From this beginning, it is easy to transition to the early days of the movies and the studio system. From the 1920s through the 1950s, studios manufactured publicity for their stars. It didn't matter whether or not it was true. If the movie magazine said there was a romance between, say, Veronica Lake and Alan Ladd, who could say it was a lie? Certainly not the stars themselves, who were under contract to the studios. To MGM or Paramount, any publicity was going to bring people into the theaters, and that was always desirable. These days, celebrities don't have a studio machine to make their publicity for them. They still have newspapers and magazines and paparazzi, just as the studios had, but they also have the publicity tools of the modern era, reality shows and the internet. The idea that celebrities have privacy is an illusion. They need that publicity for their jobs. It is disingenuous to say that only some publicity is allowed. As Daniel Radcliffe is quoted as saying, celebrities who use social media should not then expect privacy. Quote, if you go on Twitter and tell everybody what you're doing moment to moment and then claim you want a private life, then no one is going to take that request seriously. Celebrities can take advantage of their fame in ways not available to the average person, including using their bully pulpit to espouse a political agenda or to try to get away with illegal activities. It is up to the rest of us to hold them accountable. One way we can do that is through publicity. There is also a constitutional angle here. Freedom of and freedom of the press are valid counter-arguments to the right to privacy. It will be my contention that, for these reasons, celebrities have no right to privacy. Got it. Okay. So let's talk legal issues here. In the 1920s, there was an actress. Her name was Melvin, and she had maybe committed murder in her past, but she was acquitted from that. So she moved on, tried to reinvent her life. Then somebody found out about it, and she sued. It says here, according to a University of Washington professor, whose name was Adam Moore, privacy rights generally lapse in public places. When she sued in 1931, the Supreme Court of Los Angeles ruled in favor of the defendants, noting that Melvin's murder escapade, quote, is a public record open to the perusal of all. When the incidents of a life are so public as to be spread upon a public record, they come within the knowledge and into possession of the public and cease to be private. In other words, once it was public knowledge, she didn't own her own story anymore, no matter how much she wanted to move on.
Okay? And while that is true, they have the right to bring up or investigate what's in the past. Celebrities have the right to have things forgotten, to have incidents that they're ashamed of, to be able to repent and move on with a clean slate. And to keep bringing it up in her face is not fair to her. She's not allowed to move on as we would be allowed to move on after we had done something that we weren't particularly proud of.
But suppose it's something like Bill Cosby and his accusations, where he's trying to put that behind him, but in fact, it's not in a legal matter. He cannot put that behind him because these are charges that are unresolved.
Yes, but there's a difference between criminal activity, which is what is alleged against Mr. Cosby, and someone who has private information that they do not really want to share. For example, if you were diagnosed with cancer, you may not want that out there. And in fact, there are HIPAA laws that say that no matter who you are, the doctors and the hospitals cannot disclose your information. If you choose to tell your fans that you are battling cancer, or in the case of one of the singers, his son was battling cancer, that is your right to share information, but it should not be forced out on you because some paparazzi or some National Enquirer writer found the information somehow because they saw you coming out of the doctor's office and they chatted with people.
But now that's a valid point, and I will agree with that. But if you want to argue that, then the laws have to change. The laws are not clear on that point. So, for example, Jennifer Lawrence. I know that's something that you have also. Jennifer Lawrence sued because someone hacked into into her private accounts and several others and published photos and private information that he found there. But the only thing he was ever found guilty on was one count of unauthorized access to a private computer. So if we want those laws to change, then that's an area of law that is unclear. And because we have the internet and the new information source that is not covered, then that's something that needs to be addressed, but it isn't there now.
Correct. And in fact, Jennifer Lawrence is now fighting for laws to change because she was embarrassed by private photos that she did not intend to share with the general public being taken illegally off of a server that she thought was secure and published for the world to see. And that isn't fair. We wouldn't like it if somebody did that to us, and celebrities should be able to expect that what they put in private for their own personal use, unless it is a criminal activity, should be private. And they should be allowed to say whether or not it is shared with their fans. Because having photos leaked because somebody hacked into the cloud is an invasion of privacy that shouldn't be allowed, and the laws need to be updated to make sure this is illegal. Additionally,
Okay, go ahead.
Additionally, one of the downsides of technology is that things that you thought were private can be accessed by people who are unscrupulous enough to know how to get the information, and they may disclose it publicly, or they may threaten to disclose it publicly, and thus blackmail you. And I think you are more open to blackmail if you are a celebrity. And so you may want to keep some information private, and you should be allowed to without being worried that somebody is going to put it out there or threaten to if you don't do what they want.
But on the other hand, there are lots of celebrities that very deliberately put it out there. That is their modus operandi. That's how they get publicity. That's how they get their next job. And they use that celebrity as a soapbox. So on one side of the political aisle, you've got Meryl Streep or the cast of Hamilton. On the other side of the political aisle, you have Ted Nugent. All of these people are using their celebrity to espouse political views. So if they are allowed to do that, if they are allowed to use the publicity themselves, then how can they say, well, I'm only going to do this far and no farther?
Because while it's true if you use your celebrity status to promote a cause or make a statement, you should expect people to disagree with you, and you should be prepared for that. However, just because you share one thing or one piece of you does not mean that everything should then be open to public scrutiny. You are allowed to have an opinion on an issue just like anybody else is allowed to have an opinion on an issue. And because somebody disagrees with you, that shouldn't mean that everything you do is judged by this position that you took. And besides, according to debate.org, 91% of people agree with me.
But debate.org is not a legitimate site. Debate.org is an internet site, and an internet poll is not scientific. An internet poll is self-selecting. Only the people who agree with the argument are going to go to that particular page and click yes. In fact, I have a quote here from reality television star from Big Brother. Her name is Imogen Thomas. She says, "I believe when a reality star opens their doors to the extent they do, they cannot complain the next day if something bad is written about them." I mean, think about a show like Big Brother. They are literally under the camera 24/7. Literally. Everything they do. It's a live feed on the internet. They can't then complain that they have no privacy. They deliberately did that to themselves.
Yes, they did, for the purposes of that show and for that 8-week period of their lives. But that doesn't mean that once they leave that house, they've given up any right to privacy for the rest of their lives. It should only be that particular part of their lives that they have chosen to share. And when they've stopped living in that house, when they got kicked out or whatever, they have the right to go back to being a private citizen and disclose or not disclose the information that they want out there for the public and for their fans.
5 minutes left.
Okay.
Okay? Then I want to get into the constitutionality of it. We have freedom of speech. We have freedom of the press. The press is allowed to take pictures. They're allowed to publish stories. And we, as a people, buy those stories. They wouldn't do it if it wasn't profitable for them. So if we, as a community, don't think that this is a good use of their time, then we shouldn't watch those TV shows and buy those magazines and go to those websites.
Absolutely. And that idea of personal privacy has really been blurred with things like Facebook and other sharing sites. But once again, what we choose to share is one thing. What we are forced to share is something else totally entirely. So on that note,
Closing
I did
statement?
the first opening statement, so you do the first closing
Okay.
statement.
Celebrities abrogated their right to privacy when they became celebrities. If they want the fame and glory that comes with being celebrities, they have to put up with the other side of that coin. Celebrities want, in fact need, to be in the public eye. They may tell you they don't want that story in the National Enquirer, but they often put it there themselves, then pretend to be shocked to see it. We all want what they have. Look how many people voluntarily go on television to be holed up in a house or on an island, or choose to have their wedding preparations or love life documented for the world to see. The paparazzi and sensationalist stories exist because there is a market for them. If we are going to condemn them, we need to stop subscribing to them. Otherwise, we are giving our tacit permission. Our society has freedom of speech and freedom of the press. These allow journalists to publish stories about celebrities. What happens in public spaces must remain public.
Privacy is an issue that is of concern, no matter who you are. Facebook, blogs, and other ways of sharing information are easily accessible today. And whether people wish to share a lot of information or only a little bit, it should be up to them. Celebrities are first and foremost people who have the right to control their image and the information they share, just as anyone else does. Being a celebrity does not mean abrogating one's rights to privacy. Everyone has the right to decide how much they share.